I don't think I can think of any player who's like the way we perceive them over a 365-day span has changed. Less than 365 days has changed more than Maikel Garcia, from not being on the opening day starting lineup, being on the bench to begin 2025, to then being an all-star, a gold glover, career highs all over the place, um, and gets a contract extension, and then goes and balls out for his country in the World Baseball Classic, and now has come at Kansas City as I think, a pretty close to a national name now. One Royal Way back at it here on Kansas City Sports Network. I'm Joel Penfield. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Make sure to like, rate, subscribe, review on all platforms. Hit those notification bells, when these episodes go live. As always, brought to you by Emprise Bank. Member FDIC, our partners in Possible. Here at Kansas City Sports Network, we're less than 10 days away from opening day at the time of recording. And so with spring training winding down, the WBC is now completed. A lot to get to here, and this is going to be a bit of a longer episode compared to what I've done in the past couple of weeks. Some of that is just I'm not sick anymore, so I can actually talk and it doesn't hurt. So I'm very excited for this. Joining me on this episode, don't often have guests, but had to get him on considering he's had me on his show a couple of times, and I have not reciprocated that. Jack Johnson from A10WHB and the Locked On Royals podcast joining me for this episode. Glad to have you on, man. I think this is the first time I've had you on this show somehow.
I think so, but I'm so happy to be here. You and I can talk Royals or talk really anything for give or take an hour or 2 hours, but we're a week away, or I guess 9 days away from opening day.
So 9 days as of recording. So yeah, yes. We're getting close.
Oh man, it's great, and we got roster battles to talk about. We got WBC, so I'm all ready for it.
Yeah, so let's get right into the WBC, because not often do we get the chance to talk about baseball as a whole and kind of outside of the Royals sphere, which there is a lot of Royals involved in this, considering they had a really successful World Baseball Classic with the guys that played in it for their respective countries. Venezuela comes out on top, beating Team USA in the final last night. Maikel Garcia, it's Maikel, not Maikel, as we've learned. He wins WBC MVP. Salvador Perez, team captain for Venezuela, gets another notch in the belt for him. Team USA falls short, but I will say, as a fan of just the game itself, obviously you wanted Team USA to win. Who wouldn't if you're an American, right? But it was so incredible to watch the emotion and the outpouring from all those Venezuelan players last night. And you could feel how much it meant to those guys to win that championship. And to me, this was the best iteration of this event. You could tell how much it's grown from this kind of novelty, cool, who cares sort of thing to now being the World Cup of baseball and a very serious event that going forward, I think is going to feel like this in a lot of cases. So I thought it was awesome. I think Venezuela winning was an incredible story. There's storylines on the USA side we can get to, but what were some of your overall thoughts on last night's game as it pertains to Venezuela winning?
Well, you absolutely have to tip your cap to everything that Venezuela did, from, jumping out early from the start, from Eduardo Rodriguez, the way they handled the bullpen.
And he shoved. He was unbelievable.
And, I have to wonder if, of course, a lot of the guys in the U.S.'s lineup had faced Rodriguez before. But in that moment, I mean, it's not like most road environments that they had played in before. I think my favorite part, Joel, about this entire tournament is you got to see baseball played in basically football noise. I mean, it was definitely loud every time the U.S. played, even early on in pool play. I mean, I saw a couple of people tweeting out, it's like, oh, this is my first time watching. And I'm like, you missed a lot of great games, even when it was U.S. versus Great Britain. I mean, you got the Schwarber home run, and that was one of the loudest crowd pops of the tournament. You got Mexico and Italy, which was awesome. And yes, you're exactly right to say it's the World Cup of baseball. It's the Baseball Olympics. And without question, it is the greatest promotional event that the sport has. I mean, I am a diehard MLB fan. I mean, I watch from start to finish. I watch spring training. I can acknowledge that the average fan, somebody that doesn't even watch baseball, it's hard to convince them to stay entertained when it's some random game in May. You show them the game against the Dominican Republic, you show them the game last night. How could you not fall in love with baseball and watching all the players have that emotion, the bat flips, the yelling, the pure performance from these elite level players? I couldn't get enough of it. I'm bummed this morning, or I was bummed this morning that it's all done, but it also means that we're less than 10 days away from the regular season.
It was baseball in its purest form, because when you whittle it down, yes, these guys are making millions of dollars, and it is a business. It is their job. It is a kid's game at the end of the day. And so many of the guys in this tournament played like it, like they were playing on the sandlots at 8 years old, right? They played with that childlike love of the game. I thought that was the best part of it. And the emotion that the Latin American countries play with, and that hopefully that carries over into the regular season. And you see more like this, that, man, that's a really fun style of baseball. It's easy to market. It's not the stuffy old school way. And there's merits to that style. I'm not trying to denigrate it, but
yeah,
what those guys did, it was, at the end of the day, it's that childlike love that we all fell in love with the game at some point. They get to go out and play that way and present that as their job. And I thought that was incredible theater to see. On the USA side, and we can drill down on some Royal specific performances, and I want to do that too, but I want to get some thoughts out about USA. It was the best team they've ever assembled. And I don't think it was a poorly constructed roster. Like, I know that is kind of some of the commentary today, that there were too many three-true outcome guys and all that. I thought they put together a great roster. And the pitching was obviously a huge story. And what Skeens did was unbelievable. He was great. The bullpen usage, those guys were really good coming out. It really did not all the time, because I know those guys badly wanted to win. I don't think they wanted to win. It didn't feel like often they wanted to win as badly as those dudes from Venezuela and the DR and Puerto Rico and Italy. And the Italy part of it is interesting, because there are a lot of it's all Italian Americans, but you could tell what it meant for them to represent their family's heritage, and they wanted to win it badly for the sport to help it grow in that country, right? And I just go back to a couple weeks before the WBC, when the news Tarek Skubal is going to be on the team. And the news is put out there, he's going to do one pool play starting and bounce. And then he's out. And when he was one of the marquee names early that said, I'm going to do this, it just felt like a canary in the coal mine for the way that maybe the U.S. is going to go about their business. And I felt like, yes, other teams had to deal with this. I'm sure that that is not a unique scenario. And it's a very unique scenario, considering Skubal's the best pitcher in baseball. It's a walk year. He's trying to earn a big deal. All that aside, just the messaging was odd. The way that it went around was odd. The way he was kind of like, I thought it was just going to be like an all-star game. I didn't really worry about it that much. And then he tried to double back and act like he wanted to be there, and that he was going to drive through the rain to be there, even though he wasn't going to pitch. Like, it was just odd. And I think that's kind of a microcosm of the way that things played out, right? And you got some disappointing performances, and single elimination baseball is a cruel mistress, because one bad game, you're done. Like that's it. That was the beauty of that one game wild card before the playoff expansion. So one bad game does not make a team, but in that particular spot, bad time to have a terrible game. If Bobby didn't play well, Aaron Judge didn't play well for the entire knockout round. Shocking, when games matter, Aaron Judge didn't show up. I'm truly shocked by that. Some of the roster usage was odd. Mark DeRosa deserves some criticism, not only for the gaff in pool play, but also some of the usage of the roster, I think, in that championship game. It's all just odd. But I hope this is a chance for Team USA to look in the mirror and be like, hey, we got to figure this thing out. This is our national pastime. Yes, other countries may be better, but this is our sport at the end of the day, historically. And we've won this thing once. And it'll be 13 years. 12 or 13 years since they had won the last one in 2017. I think this is a chance for them to look in the mirror and figure out, how are we going to do this and how are we going to get back to where we can win this thing? Because if we're going to put out that team and fall short when it's the best team we've ever assembled, guys want to be there, they want to do this, it's kind of it puts them in a really tough spot, I think.
Without question. I mean, I would go as far to say that was the greatest assembly of talent we've ever seen on a baseball field.
The Dominican-USA game was probably the most collection of talent ever put together on a baseball field, and that includes all-star games.
No, like, I have no pushback on that whatsoever, because, you know, what the U.S. was able to do, and this is what I will give Mark DeRosa credit for, an excellent recruiter, no doubt about that.
Absolutely.
I mean, the phone calls he had to make, I mean, they knew back in 2023 after losing to Japan, the glaring issue was they didn't have enough pitching. I mean, they ran out of bullets when it was all said and done, and Japan had the beast that is Shohei Ohtani. Just, he could either start for him, he can close out games. You have that. That's going to be worth an extra run, if not multiple, when you're playing them. And this year, the excitement that built when you find out Hall Skeens gets picked and he accepts the invite. Tarek Skubal, Logan Webb, who's one of my favorite pitchers in the sport. Joe Ryan. Royals fans know all about Joe Ryan.
Who didn't even get to pitch, and they told him to go home.
Yeah. And that, to me, you bring up messaging. And that's where I think the U.S. falls behind here. When it comes to Venezuela, when it comes to the Dominican Republic, Mexico, Cuba, Japan, Puerto Rico, it matters so much for them to represent their country well. I'm not trying to call out the players here. I think that for some of them, they were not properly informed. Obvious reason being Tarek Skubal thought it was similar to the All-Star game. That can't happen with one of the best arms, and I wouldn't fight you if you said he's the best arm in baseball. I mean, that's maybe a situation where you just don't say anything, even if you didn't expect it to be this type of environment, this type of game. You just got to keep your mouth shut there. And I do respect the honesty of him saying, here's why I backed out. Here's why I'm going to stick around. I can always respect the hell out of that. But to me, the fact that he wasn't told what this is about, how important it is for this roster to win the World Baseball Classic, that's on the U.S. And we can't keep treating it. And I think this was the first year, really after that gaff and pool play where they thought they had advanced. After that, you saw a ton of emotion in the Mexico game, in the Canada game, and the DR game. You could see how much on the faces of the players it mattered. But when it comes down to it, is it this, it's a lot of fun to be in this, I'm getting caught up in the moment, or do I treat this like there is no tomorrow? It was obvious last night that for Venezuela, a lot of those guys, this was it. To hear Ronald Acuna Jr. say the win against Italy in the semifinals was the #1 professional achievement, you wouldn't hear any of the established big leaguers on Team USA say that about the win against DR. Now, we did hear Aaron Judge say the atmosphere, it's bigger and better.
Julio Rodriguez of the Dominican Republic, Salvi even said,
yeah,
winning this championship would mean more than a World Series. That's how much it means to these guys. And that is not to say they would wish away a World Series. Winning that's a notch in your belt for your career, but again, it's for their country. And I think this is where kind of the World Cupification of the World Baseball Classic really came into play. And I think this is where what could drive this thing forward, because maybe now this is kind of the aha moment for Team USA of, we really need to take this and treat it like these other countries do. And this isn't just some fun thing for us some fun all-star team thing for us to go and do and be buddy-buddy with some guys we're going to play against in June. Like, we need to go win this thing and take it as seriously and treat it with not take it as seriously, because I know that they did. Like, they played hard. They tried to win. But play with it as passionately as these other teams have.
Yeah, I mean, that's something, too, where it probably never will happen where they're going to care as much as...
Maybe. Yeah, we'll see.
Like, I
think you got to get the right collection of guys. I think you had a lot of, the same type of personality in that clubhouse, where I think you had a much greater variety of it in a lot of these other clubhouses. And that's not just the Latin American guys. I think that's
Yep.
with the Italian clubhouse and the Korean clubhouse and the Japanese clubhouse. Like, you have your kind of fiery, rattle the bat rack guys. You have your just consummate pro, quite goes about their business leader. I think you had too much of the same type of lead by example types. And you need a Johnny Gomes, like the guy that's going to rattle the bat rack a little bit. I don't think Team USA had that, or had someone that was comfortable being able to go and do that.
No, and we see it too in Kansas City. Like, Bobby is the leader of the Royals. He's not the vocal leader. That's Vinny Pasquantino. I kind of have that same sense about Aaron Judge. Like, Aaron Judge, I believe, is a leader based
He's the captain of the Yankees, but he is the I'm going to lead by the way I man the post every day. It's that.
And some guys respond well to that. Some guys need the player to light a fire under him, to be angry when you're scoreless for 6 innings, for 7 innings against Venezuela. And look, I never want to be that guy either to say, well, the U.S. lost last night because they played horribly. Venezuela pitched incredibly. They made the U.S.
Two things are true. I thought they were lifeless for 6 innings. Like, that was a big part of it too.
And that goes into, that's a credit to Erod and how he started the game, how he set the tone, and how the bullpen took over. But the reason I was going to say, it's going to be tough to match what those other Latin American countries have in the WBC is for Team US, everybody on that roster is going back to play on a big league roster. Those are all star level players, or at least above average players at the big league level. Venezuela has guys that aren't even in the big leagues right now. And they know that this is a showcase to them, why it matters so much. I believe it was Andres Machado, too, who did give up the home run to Harper, but looked great all tournament long. Like, it's been, I believe, a year or two since he's been on a roster. I'd have to go back and double check that. But there's been a couple of guys in the tournament.
It's on 99.
Like 99. It's awesome to see. That's what I love so much about the tournament, though, because how you get people to care, how you get fans to be invested, the players have to be invested. They have to care. And the last point I'll make on that, and it's, Mark DeRosa seems like an awesome guy, but if you're going to assemble a coaching staff, I want it to be a group of guys that do have recent and extended big league coaching experience. Mark DeRosa is not a manager for that roster. Andy Pettit, there was the story before the DR game where he said, I haven't really looked into what I need to look into. It's like the day before the game. And, you have guys that know baseball. Don't get me wrong. You play it in the MLB. You know baseball. You are an intelligent baseball man. But if you're a good player, it doesn't make you a good manager. Vice versa, too. You're a bad player doesn't mean you can't make a great manager. And that's where the next go-around, if they're really serious, maybe put DeRosa in the recruiting role where he can go out there. He's got
make him the bench coach vibes guy.
There you go.
I'm cool with that. But, like, I don't know if he'll be a manager in 3 years. If Tito Francona isn't managing the Reds, go get that guy.
Yeah.
He'd be awesome.
It was Leland in 2017.
It was Jim Leland.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they won.
You got a guy that had maybe more experience than anybody at the time. Get somebody who's a year out of baseball or two, but he's been around the current day and age. I get DeRosa had his hands tied a few times where you've got other managers calling and saying, hey, don't use him. He's unavailable tonight. I get that. My issue last night, the fact that you say Mason Miller was available, but you were only going to throw him in a save situation. Why? You're the home team in the 9th inning. So you use your closer regardless in that situation. Garrett Whitlock had been fine, but that goes back to the point of that's not a true baseball manager move. That's somebody who might be playing too much into the, I'm here for the story of it. And we wanted Miller to close it. If you're not going to use him there, when were you going to use him? You're winning that game via walk-off, and you're wanting to walk it off in the bottom of the 9th. That was maybe the only point last night where I went, you're losing them this game. But also Whitlock was great all tournament long. It's not like he threw somebody out there that had been off it.
Correct, yeah. All right, I want to jump back to Team Venezuela, and I want to talk for a little bit about the MVP of the tournament, Maikel Garcia. /385, 393, 577, 10 hits, which I believe led the tournament. He had 1 homer, 7 RBIs. He had the sacked fly to get the scoring started for Venezuela. He had the big 2-run single in the semifinal against Italy. He had the 3-run homer that brought Venezuela back to life against Japan when it was 5-1 and the game was teetering. Man, I don't think I can think of any player who's like the way we perceive them over a 365-day span has changed. Less than 365 days has changed more than Maikel Garcia, from not being on the opening day starting lineup, being on the bench to begin 2025, to then being an all-star, a gold glover, career highs all over the place, and gets a contract extension, and then goes and balls out for his country in the World Baseball Classic, and now has come at Kansas City as I think, a pretty close to a national name now. I mean, with the way he played in this tournament. He is one of those dudes that when the lights are brightest, he's going to show up. I went back and looked. He was not good in 2024 when they made the playoffs. He hit 318 in that playoff run.
Had the 4-hit
When
game.
they needed him most. And yeah, he had a 4-hit game in Yankee Stadium. When the lights are the brightest, this dude just shows up. That's why I think this goes for all these guys. Like the Royals were one of the biggest stories out of the WBC with all these guys that succeeded. Expectations to me now are higher. And that's not just from us. That's from people that cover the sport. That are like, man, the Royals might actually be really good this year if these guys all perform. With all these guys that are getting these big-time reps. And Maikel Garcia is right at the forefront of that. And Bobby Wood Jr., obviously, he showed he's the third best player in the sport, which is not an insult. He's just alongside two historic, legendary players that are also playing at the same time. And Maikel Garcia, he was right there. It's unbelievable how we went into last season going, I have no idea what this dude's going to do. Mm-hmm. To now, he's a bona fide star. I think last night being named the MVP of that tournament, I think you could put the star label on him with a fair amount of certainty.
Gosh, and you could see it coming to, like, in 2023, early on in 24. Of course, he went through the extended slump the year the Royals did make the postseason. But I'd actually talked with Dan Zimborski of Fangraphs a few days ago about this same thing of, Maikel Garcia is last year, an unbelievable breakout year where you're a 5 to 6 WAR player, gold glover defensively. You're hitting north of 300 the entire year. I asked him, is this one of those cases where it's hey, that's probably as good as it gets, but you also can't ignore the body of work before that. And he never really was that true everyday starter league average bat. Otherwise, he would have been a starter going into 2025. Yep. And he said, no, I think last year, that's the sign of things to come because the data had all supported it going into 2025. Like, this is a guy that can hit 290. He can play gold glove defense, and there is a little bit of power there that can, maybe not light you up at third base. It's not going to be like this 30 home run bat at third base, but you play gold glove defense, you hit 290 and run into 15 to 20 home runs. That is a star at this level. And for years in the Central, I mean, who's been the third baseman? It's been Jose Ramirez. It's been J-Rob. And yes, he's a 40 home run type of bat, but I think Garcia can be closing that gap. And if he builds off what he's done this offseason in the World Baseball Classic, built off what he did last year, you're going to be looking at Kansas City and saying, yeah, why shouldn't they win 90 games? Because now we're all off season. It's, well, can they get Cags to be a league average bat? Carter Jensen. The good news is the infield, Carter Jensen, Salvador Perez, there's so much tremendous upside where if things start shading in that direction, it's not this could be a fun Cinderella team that wins 85 games. It's they might win the Central and they might be an absolute wagon in October that nobody wants to run into.
Yeah. I don't want to spend too much time on Salvi. He really didn't do much. He didn't play in the semifinal game. He was just kind of there, but he was the team captain, right?
Yeah.
And deserves, it's another notch in the belt. I don't know if a WBC championship adds to a Hall of Fame resume, but it's something. And I think if this event continues to grow, maybe it is something that people look at. And the guy's had an incredible career. He's going to break the Royals franchise home run record this year. He's going to man the post. I don't have too much more to say about him. to Team Italy with Jack and Vinny. Vinny, I'm glad the world got to see the leadership Vinny Pasquantino possesses.
Yeah.
And he was already kind of one of those cult following, cult hero types that even if you're not a fan of the Royals, you're like, oh, Vinny, that guy's cool. I like that guy. He became that and then some, I think, at points this, during the WBC. He had the 3-homer game, the first one in the history of the tournament. It was awesome to see him on display in that way and to put himself forward there. And I hope that not only that, and he has another good year and the team invests in him. Because yes, Salvi and Bobby are the forward-facing leaders of this team. I firmly believe he's the straw that stirs the drink in that clubhouse and in that lineup. When he's going, the rest of the offense goes along with him. And we'll certainly see what he does this year. I wouldn't be shocked if he goes 30 and 100 again, especially with the fences moved in. Maybe that adds some power production for him. I'm excited for that. Jack, I think it's still a work in progress, but I saw a lot of good things. You can see it's not all the time, but there is a concerted effort. Not the swing and miss doesn't necessarily bother me. It's the swing decisions that bother me. Like the chase, some of the chase. And yes, he may make contact, but is it a good swing? Not necessarily. There is a much more concerted effort to be patient, watch those strike to ball pitches and spin on them, and not really expand until he gets to 2 strikes. He lit up that lefty cutter. Ryan Yarborough threw him. He had a bunch of other good swings and good plate appearances. He walked more than he struck out, I believe, in the WBC. I'm very high on what he's going to do this year from what I've seen in spring training. And I think playing some of these, games with a little bit of, oomph to them, I think will help speed some of that along for Jack as we get into the season.
No doubt. I mean, to me, it was never really an issue of does he have the talent. I think what it came down to, Joel, when he was in that slump, when they called him up in Kansas City, it's a confidence thing, man. It's a confidence thing where when you walk up to the plate and you see 160, 140 on the Jumbotron, everybody's talking about your struggles. It's hard not to get inside your head where you're just not as confident at the plate. And he is one of the most confident guys out there. Look at his tape at Florida. I mean, he had that swagger.
It was probably the most failure he had ever experienced in his life.
Without
And it happened all at once.
And so the World Baseball Classic, there were a couple things I liked. Number one, you have the success, so that's always going to look great. But it's the confidence of he knew he was playing in front of all these people, and he was on Team Italy, who made an incredible run. He's well known in this. He's seen as one of the main contributors. That's perfect, where he could have gone and hit 900 in Surprise. And I don't think it would have convinced me that everything was fixed. This, to me, gives me more reason because nobody in the World Baseball Classic is going there to work on stuff. You're going there to get people out and to get on base and to drive in runs. And he did that. And even though we all got our opinions on John Smoltz, the Italy-Venezuela game in his first at-bat, Cags walked on 4 pitches. And he said, I use the term hitterish a lot, and this kid looks hitterish. And it's a term that, yes, can be applied to people that are overly aggressive, but also a term that you can say, man, he just looks ready to hit in the box. He does not look over anxious. He doesn't have a ton going on. And he's got a lot of, arms and legs in the box there. And he made a slight tweak to his stance in the box. It looks calmer, and it's all going to be about swing decision early on. Because if he can just wait for a semi-close pitch, he's got the extension in the barrel to do some serious damage. And if he can start the first month of the season as a league average bat, I'm telling you, the ceiling for this team goes way, way, way up if Caglione can be a force like they expect him to.
Well, 100%. We're almost a half hour into this thing, and we have not taken a break, and we got to pay some bills. So we will be right back after this.
I'm BJ Kissel, founder and CEO of KC Sports Network. Emprise Bank has been with us from the beginning. They were our first network partner, and they believed in the vision of what we were building from the start. I can't speak to any other banks or companies and how they operate, but I can tell you from personal experience and based on the growth of the network you're listening to right now, that if you have banking needs, call our friends at Emprise Bank. We've worked with so many great people there over the years, from Vicky and Aggie to Andrea, Lori, Jackie, Deb, and Aaron, and not to mention so many others that not just supported KC Sports Network, but supported our KCSN Foundation as well. But the best thing that I know is that if I have a question or a problem, no matter how dumb the question is, I know who I'm going to call and who I'm going to talk to. And I know that I'm getting an answer from someone that I can trust. And I know that person is there to help us. That's why Emprise Bank has always been and continues to be our partner in Possible. And they can be yours too. You just have to reach out. If you have a banking need, whether it's business or personal, hit me up. I will connect you directly with the same people that have helped us build KCSN. And that's our friends at Emprise Bank.
Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe button, everybody. I do appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us and listening to Jack and I go back and forth here. I found this tweet from Nick Capel over at Royals PR, Director of Media Relations. He had a great one about the Royals position players in the World Baseball Classic and where they ranked among all 30 teams.
Yeah.
Royals players finished first in hits, first in starts, first in runs scored, tied for first in doubles, tied for first in walks, tied for first in stolen bases, second in RBI, second in extra base hits, second in total bases. So pretty good tournament for the Royals there. Some news and notes from Surprise, and then we'll do roster projected 3.0, and Jack and I will discuss some of those final roster spots because there's not many left here, which I do think is very interesting, and it's been kind of the story of the spring. Like there really isn't a lot. There was maybe like 3 or 4 spots up for grabs going into spring training to begin with, but the Royals have made some moves. They have optioned some guys to Omaha and reassigned guys. Yesterday, St. Patrick's Day, Ryan Bergert, Mason Black, Cameron Meisner, John Rave, all optioned to Omaha. Hilcrease Olivares reassigned to minor league camp. That put the roster at 50. And then just before the start of the game against the Rangers on Wednesday night, they optioned Mitch Spence to Omaha as well. So that puts them at 49. They need to get to 26 by opening day. So with Ryan Berger officially being optioned to Omaha, and that's where he will start the year, that means your starting rotation in some order. People got mad at the order that I put out on Twitter, but whatever. Cole Reagans, Seth Lugo, Maikel Walker, Chris Bubich, Noah Cameron will be your starting 5 to begin the year. Did you think the Berger-Cameron thing was a real competition, or did you think they were just going to give it to Cameron?
I thought it. I believe that their 5 guys, the rotation, have been set since February. I don't believe there was
kind of agree.
Yeah, to me, I love Ryan Berger. I think Stephen Kolk's really good as well. They showcased that late last year. But tell me why Noah Cameron, coming off the year that he did, you hang on to him. You preach all off season how much you value him and the years of control. Then you say, actually, we're going to put him in the bullpen. Like, then you'd say, well,
I don't think he was ever going to go to the bullpen.
But that's
I wondered and there's only so much you can take from spring training. Yeah. But I wonder, like, he really hadn't looked great. The peripheral numbers weren't good in spring training either. Some of Berger's peripheral numbers weren't great, but you saw like the ceiling and it was like, oh, this is interesting. And I talked about that last week. Like, I don't think there is actually a real competition, but there probably should be. But clearly, this is why I'm sitting here and not actually making decisions, because they made it very clear yesterday. Berger's going to go to Omaha, but he's not going to be there long. He needs starts. I don't think they want to put him in the bullpen, so that's the best way for him to do it. He has options, and he'll be first man up whenever there is an opportunity.
Yeah, and also with Noah Cameron, was I a little bit concerned about him sitting 90 to 91, not great movement, not as much spin as he usually had? Sure, a little bit. I also can acknowledge he might be slowly building up in the way that some guys are. And last year, the peripherals didn't always look great. They got better as the season went on. He's just a pitchability guy. I think he's a very high IQ pitcher where the numbers are really never going to be that poor. Now, I'll play devil's advocate here. Let's say they are. It's okay then to have Ryan Berger in Omaha and Stephen Kolek in Avila and stay stretched out so that you can make that move where you say, okay, we do need to bring somebody else up to start, and then maybe we shift Cameron to the bullpen or get him reset in AAA. You've got that flexibility there, but you also have to factor in here, Joel, that Cole Reagans and Chris Bubich both had the same injuries last year. You can't just say, well, they're going to give us 200. We don't know that. We don't know that for any of these guys. Walker and Lugo ran out of gas late again last season. And that's why, you know, maybe instead of keeping Bergert in a 2-inning role in April, when, let's be honest, how much are you really using your long reliever in April? How much are really bad? You had a ton of off days. You're going to have rainouts. You just aren't going to be relying on that guy as much. Where, I mean, I'm sure we'll get to it here. Bailey Falter, he's not everybody's favorite on the team, but he's out of options. And those other guys that we've talked about, they have options. And that's the one thing I took away, or one big thing I took away when I was down in Surprise, talking with you, talking with JJ, that he said for roster construction, you want to have guys with options because it does help you keep some of these guys on the roster where you don't have to DFA them if they don't look that great.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So let's go ahead and throw up on screen. If you're on the audio side, I'll read it all off. If you're on YouTube, we're going to throw up the My Roster Projection 3.0. Whenever our awesome producer, Nick Springer, is able to get that pulled up, we will have that here. This feels like what it's probably going to end up being, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I think I might have it nailed. So starting rotation, we just talked about that. That's pretty well set. I don't think there's too many questions about who's going to be in the starting lineup on opening day. Perez, Pasquantino, Jonathan India, Maikel Garcia. I really got to fix that. Maikel Garcia, Bobby Witt Jr., Isaac Collins, Kyle Isbell, Jack Caglione, Carter Jensen DHing. On the bench, I have Lane Thomas, Starling Marte, Michael Massey, Nick Lofton. I put Nick Lofton in over Tyler Tolbert. I think there's just more positional versatility. I think there's more ceiling with the bat. I know that they really covet a speed guy like Tolbert, but he plays a bunch of different positions, but he doesn't necessarily play any of them incredibly well. The bat is fine, but they really only put him out there, I think, for 60 plate appearances last year. You can put Nick Lofton in the lineup a little bit more. I think he showed a little more of a propensity to pull the ball in the air and pull line drives this year, which I think might help, optimize his offensive profile a little bit more. Is how I see it right now. In the bullpen, Estevez, Ursic, Strom, Cruz, Schreiber, Nick Mears, Daniel Lynch, and Alex Lang. Bergert obviously is on the outside now. Spence is on the outside. I have Lang twice. I just moved him and forgot to delete it. I have Luinder Avila outside because I think they want him to start. Kolek I have out there as well, just because he's ramping back up. He's, to me, going to get optioned. How do you see this so far? And then I also have on the far right side, I have my lineup right-handed versus left-handed. At the beginning of the spring, I had Isaac Collins in the leadoff spot. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Michael Garcia is going to be the leadoff hitter for this team. I think they're going to put him back there. He's a much better player now than he was in 2025 or 2024. This may end up being actually the best thing for him. I know they've talked about putting Bobby in the leadoff spot, potentially. I think he's just suited best 2, Vinny 3, Salvi 4, Jensen against right-handed pitching, Jensen at DH, Collins, Caglione, India, Isbell. Against lefties, I have Garcia, Witt, Pasquantino, Perez, Lane Thomas in center, Isaac Collins in left, Carter Jensen, Jonathan India, and Nick Lofton in right field. Jack, I did a lot of talking there. What are your thoughts on how this looks?
Yeah, I think for the most part, I'm pretty much set with what you got. The only differences I have on my projection, and people are not going to like this, but instead of Lang, I do have Bailey Falter. And that has sort of come about over the last 24 hours or so. Reason being that I have a hard time seeing the Royals finding a trade partner or DFAing him. Now, let me be clear on that. They moved him from his starter's role and threw him out of the bullpen last night against the Dodgers. That very well could be a showcase him, and then we'll try to trade him because he's out of options. You want to get some value. I don't know how much value is there, though, and we got to keep in mind that J.J. Piccolo gave up resources, Evan Sisk and Colin Moss, to get him at the deadline last year. And he wasn't good for them last year, but only through, 10 innings? I mean, it's
12 innings. I don't think there was a good one in there, but he did throw a couple of times.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't good at all. And it wouldn't surprise me if they said, okay, let's put him in that long relief role. I know they've contemplated a 6th starter. I don't see it. I could see him being that mop-up long relief. And here's the good news. Like, if you're mad at my choice for that, if he goes out there and isn't good, like let's say he has a start to April like Sam Long did last year, okay, then you know your answer. You DFA him. He's not going to be that guy. And then you can call up a Lang or an Avila or a Berger or a Kolek if he's built back up. But I think this gives them kind of that safer, more conservative pick of we're not losing anybody here. All of the guys we brought up in Lang, Avila, Berger, Kolek, they've got options. Mitch Spence has options. Mason Black has options, where Falter's the only guy that does it. I'm kind of against carrying 3 lefties, but this also goes back to maybe seeing just what he has. In best case scenario, he does look good in long relief, and maybe then you can just kind of figure out what you want to do with him throughout the season, whether you flip him at the deadline or if he's valuable enough to keep in the bullpen. As for the bench, that's actually the exact one that I have too. I was on Josh Rojas for a while, but the more they talked about Nick Lofton, loving his versatility, giving them another right-handed bat, I don't see them forcing him off the roster to have Josh Rojas on there. Point being, you have to make a 40-man roster move if Josh Rojas is to get on there because he's a NRI guy. He's a non-roster invite, and that means you got to remove somebody, DFA them, and somebody might claim a player. For the lineups, the only one I would change, I think, is I'd have Starling Marte over Lofton. I don't know why they would.
That's fair. Yeah.
To me, and Lofton's going to get run out there too. Like, he's going to have time in right field and left field, third base, second base, whenever Garcia needs a day or Jonathan India does. But Starling Marte got a big league deal. I have a hard time believing that he's only there to be basically a pinch hitter. I could see him being on the opening day lineup too, just because they'll be facing Chris Sale in Atlanta next Friday, and Q loves those right-handed heavy platoon lineups. So that would be my one switch up there. But overall, though, I like it a lot. That's kind of what it has the feel of right now, where Maikel is going to be this team's leadoff hitter. Collins has been battling something in camp, and he hasn't played that well either. Feels foolish to throw him into the leadoff spot early on in the year. Let's see if he can get into a rhythm in the 5 or the 6 hole, maybe even lower than that. And then you go from there. But I like what you got. Really only those 2 or 3 points that I made. I'm not the biggest fan of keeping Bailey Falter, but I can understand the deal with minor league options and guys that have them and guys that do not.
A major oversight on my part, not having Starling Marte in the lineup against lefties. That is just a miss on my part. And Nick, you're good to take the graphic off on the video side here. So my rationale for not having Bailey Falter on there is he's out of options, and I don't think it's worth carrying a guy that has concern of whether he's going to be effective enough. Like, to me, I would just rather cut bait and move on. And when you have a guy with, like, Lang does have options, so I guess that makes some sense. But I would rather, on a $1 million deal, see if he's got it. And if he's either still hurt or it's just not working, you can option him or just DFA it, or you can just cut bait. And it's a rounding error, and you don't have to worry about it. You have other guys you could throw up there. I am fascinated by Luinder Avila after what we saw in the WBC. And I meant to talk about him earlier, but now we can just do it now. I know they want him to start. I know they talked about believing in him as a starter. Matt Contreras said he believes in him as a frontline starter. I think that's a little rich for my blood, but hey, I understand they believe in the guy. What I have seen the end of last year, and what I saw in the World Baseball Classic in these 1 to 2 inning spurts, that guy needs to be in the bullpen. And that guy could be, and I said it, I mean, that front hip changeup he threw to Vinny was filthy. And the fastball was exploding, 98, 99. It was exploding so much he missed the catcher and domed the umpire. Like, it was, the stuff was just all crazy. And that's not even his best pitch. It's the curveball. And so you have a 3-pitch guy with a changeup he can run to the low 90s, an exploding fastball from the right side. I just think he is better suited throwing 96 to 98, potentially 99 out of the bullpen, than trying to hold his velo for 6 innings at 93 to 96 there, because I have some concerns about the fastball shape. And so I think just throwing it harder will help a little bit and get a little bit more swing and miss with it, as opposed to trying to make it work as a starter. And I think just the stuff is there. And listen, this is ambitious, but you got to stick your neck out there sometimes. It's ninth inning stuff. It is legit closer stuff out of the bullpen. And I don't know what Carlos Estevez is going to be this year. There was some metrics that looked like they could be due for a regression. And if you have a ninth inning guy you're relying on with some underlying metrics that are not favorable, that can get sketchy. We'll see if Lucas Erceg's back is able to hold up this year. We know Strom can handle it. That's a guy that if he has the mentality, he has the stuff, if he has the mentality for that ninth inning, he can lock it down, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff he possesses is really unlike anything the Royals have in the bullpen. And I've kind of taken this stance of Luinder Avila right now out of the bullpen is best for the 2026 Royals. Luinder Avila as a starter is best for the 2027 Royals. And look, they've had a debate like this before, and it's with Chris Bubich. I mean, they had the conversations in the offseason going into last year where it was, okay, he was really good as a reliever in the postseason, but we also think he can be a really good starter. And we saw in the first half that he was an all-star caliber starter. He was the Royals' best starter because Cole Reagans was fighting command and fighting through injuries. And then, unfortunately, he just didn't have enough bullets in the tank when it was all said and done. He just kind of ran out of gas and his arm hit a wall, or his rotator cuff, or no, it was rotator cuff strain.
It was a rotator cuff, yeah.
So if they view Luinder Avila as a starter, I've got reason to believe that they think he could be a true number one or number two. But I'm thinking about where on this team that really fits, right? You love to have all of these great starters and, hey, everybody can be a number one or a number two, but that would mean somebody's severely regressed or somebody's gotten hurt. And to me, maybe it's a call where you say, okay, let's have him start in Omaha in April and May. If the Royals are 15 games over 500 or 20 games over 500, I'm moving him to the bullpen because I'm saying, unless he's just tearing up AAA, he's got a 1.5 ERA and he's striking out 30% of hitters as a starter, and there's a clear weakness in the rotation, go that way. If he's not, if he's a good starter, I'd go, okay, this team is absolutely going to be in the postseason. And where is he going to help us the most? It's probably going to be in the bullpen right now than it is going to be in the rotation. And here's the other part to that. If the Royals are 20 games over 500, clearly their rotation is looking pretty good. And then you can just kind of have him as that depth piece and be an upgrade over what you have in the log relief role in Kansas City.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Like, he's going to, I'm absolutely fine with giving him the opportunity to start. I'm not trying to pigeonhole him into a role, but I've seen this profile before, and I think it just screams electric, effective reliever. It really feels like. I had a comp, but I think it's a little strong, so I'll leave that be, and maybe we see it later, and I'll pop it out later. But it's a take that is marinating, I guess, is the way to describe it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're having a little bit of fun here. We're just going here. So have a little bit of fun here with this. The Fangraphs projections have been out, and so we're gonna do some fun with numbers. This is akin to what Carrington Harrison does with his, like, hey, if I told you that this was gonna happen and you could press a button right now and lock it in, would you do it? Mm-hmm. That sort of concept, but it's going to be with the projections that are on Fangraphs.com for all of these guys. It's basically what the projected stats for the season. We've talked about those things. So for the hitters, and just for those at home, there's going to be a lot of numbers thrown around here. I understand that may be overwhelming. I will try and limit it as much as I possibly can and try and be specific about which hitters and pitchers I'm talking about. We're not going to do everybody. We're going to do a handful of hitters and a handful of pitchers and discuss from there. If we both press the button, then we can kind of move on. But if there's any discussion, that we can go back and forth. So for the hitters, we are going to use the Zips projections. And for the pitchers, we are going to use the Steamer projections, because Zips with pitchers is odd. Like the amount of innings that they have projected is like really low for a lot of starters. It's a more like, you get a more full season look with using Steamer. So that's what I'm going to use there. For Zips, I think it's a little bit better for hitters. So we'll start with the MVP candidate, Bobby Witt Jr. The Zips has him projected to play 152 games, slash 283, 337, 505, a 127 weighted runs created plus, 27 homers, 93 RBIs, and around an 18% strikeout rate, 7% walk rate. I'll probably leave out strikeout walk rate for some of these guys, and they also have 32 stolen bases, and that also factors in 34 doubles and 9 triples for Bobby. Are you pressing the button on that one?
No, not at all. I'd actually be, and I'm not trying to be dramatic here, I'd be a little bit disappointed if that was his final output. I mean,
we're in agreement. We are in agreement here.
I would love to see him hit over 300 this year. I think over 300, I can live with a lot of those. I mean, if it's 300, a 337, 340 OBP, with an 8% walk rate, I would just want to see him get to that range where he's about a 140 to 150 WRC plus guy. But I'd be a little bit let down if he was around there. 127 WRC plus kind of puts him in that 20 to 30 range offensively. I want to see him be back to a top 10 hitter offensively in the sport.
No, I agree with you. I think he's going to be better than what he was last year. I think it was a bit of a victim of circumstance where he kind of had to carry an offense that was just flatly bad for most of the season and inconsistent, and felt like he kind of had to do it all. There were some times where you could tell he was pressing. The power wasn't quite there, but I think with the fences moved in, it may take away some of the doubles. We may not see as many of those. We may not see 47 doubles, maybe like closer to 37, but we may see closer to that 32, 35 home run mark. I think there is 40 home run power in there. I think a 40-40 season is completely within range for him. And if he hits, I think he can hit close to 320 and slug around that 580 number that he did in 2024. He's projected, the Zips projection is 6.1 WAR. Like, he's an 8 to 10 WAR player for the next half decade, if not more. And he's in his age 26 season now. I mean, he is entering his prime as a baseball player. I think he can be close to what he was in 2024, if not better in some areas. And if he is, he can win MVP if Aaron Judge doesn't go nuclear again. Like, it's that type of, he's that type of player. I think the projections undersell what he can be. And generally speaking, these are like 50th percentile outcomes in a lot of cases. So it's not like we're looking at like, that's exactly what they're going to be. It's like a safe guardrail estimate for what they could be, and not crazy, like, hit the 330 with 30 homers, one of the best non-MVP seasons we've ever seen, right?
Yeah.
But I think he can do it plus winning the MVP. Move on to Maikel Garcia. And I think this one's a little insulting, I'll be honest with you, because I think he's just going to be much better than this. 263, 324 OBP, 391 slug, 97 weighted runs created plus, 11 homers, 67 RBIs, 25 stolen bases. And for him, that also bakes in 30 doubles. I'm not, because I think he's going to be closer to the dude he was last year. Like, I think he's going to hit around 270 to 280, pop 15 homers, play elite defense, which is going to help the WAR quite a bit because he was a 5.5 win player last year. I think he can be around 4.5 to 5 again and be a 115 to 120 weighted runs created plus guy. I don't think he regresses back below 100 in that case, which would be a below league average hitter.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not pressing the button there. I mean, I really want to expect around, about a 15 WAR from the left side of the infield. I think that's, or maybe 15. I meant to say, I think 13. Yeah, 13. I'm kind of expecting like an 8 WAR season from Bobby. I think that's playing it safe for the most part. And I think that
8 WAR being the floor is just crazy.
It's crazy.
It's insane to think about.
Because it was 10. It was over 10 in 2020.
It was 10.5 in 24. And then it was an 8 WAR season last year. We all went, ooh, it's kind of a down year.
Like, you can count on it being 8 to 10. And I think that Maikel's going to be around a 5-ish WAR player. I mean, I really think that this is going to be building off of last year. And yeah, I'm putting the bar at about 13 for wins above replacement. That's going to be likely
just on the left side. That's
the best left side of the infield in all of baseball. So no, I'm not pushing the button there for those totals.
Okay, great. Move on to Vinny Pasquantino. 253 average, 320 on base, 452 slug, a 109 weighted runs created plus, 1.2 WAR, 26 homers, 90 RBIs. And see how many doubles that has him baked in for. 29. I think he's going to be better than that. I know it's kind of optimistic coming off
Yeah.
us, but I think he's going to hit more homers, which then leads to more batting average. And I think he's going to be better than a 109. He was 116 last year. I think he might be around there again. Just kind of he's been over 100 every year of his career. That would be closer to what he was in 2024 when he didn't have the power output. So I think with a little more power output, I think he's going to be one of the biggest beneficiaries of the fences moving in, especially if he continues to kind of lean into the pull side power, hit the ball in the air guy, the more prototypical first base archetype. That could lead to 35 plus for him, because I think with the people did the calculations that the fences moved in, like he would have hit 40 last year instead of 32. So I think he can be closer to 35 if he's healthy. And that then kind of bumps everything else up.
Yeah, I think the only reason I'm not pressing the button is because 26 seems so low to me. I mean, I would honestly, if it was 35 home runs, and he probably wouldn't have had a 109 WRC plus if he hit 35 bombs, I could live with the OBP, the WAR there. I could live with the OPS plus, WRC plus. To me, it's about the power. If he's at 26 home runs, I think that would be pretty shocking considering the fences are coming in. I'd put house money on the fact that he gets north of 30. So for that reason, I'll probably not press the button.
I think that's fair. All right, we'll go to Jack Caglione here now. So his is 254, 321, 446 slash. That's a 109 weighted runs created plus, 1.1 WAR, 23 homers, 71 RBIs, 21% strikeout rate for those that wanted to know about that, and at about a 7% walk rate, which was about what he did last year. And a lot of that was inflated by his September when he started actually taking pitches. And that also has him for 20 doubles. Yeah, I'd hammer the button on that one, because I think that establishes like, oh, this guy can play in the big leagues and he's not a disaster. Like, I think that says a lot.
I'd be an idiot not to push the button. I mean, 250. I mean, that's nearly a 100-point improvement from last year, north of 20 home runs. He's not flailing out. I mean, a 21% strikeout rate, I'll take that all
Perfectly,
day
man.
long.
That's perfectly manageable. And that's been about what he's been at every stop so far. And he was only, with how awful he was last year, it was 22.4.
Yeah. A lot of bad luck. So this seems like it'd be luck going on his side. No, I mean, even if you were a big Jack Caglione supporter, I don't know why the hell you wouldn't slam the button there. So yeah, I'm pressing it too.
Okay, great. We'll go to the other guy. Well, this guy's actually a rookie. Jack Exhausted is. We'll go to Carter Jensen. We're looking at a 242, 317, 401 slash, 97 weighted runs created plus, a 3 WAR. So some of that is factoring in catcher defense. That would be 17 homers, 69 RBIs. They have the strikeout rate kind of high at 27%, but the walk rate around 10. And that also, we're looking at extra base hits, is 22 dubs.
So he's actually a slightly below average hitter.
Slightly below, which
Yeah.
I think with his ability to walk, because I don't think this is factoring in, because he walked 13% in his first go around to the big leagues. I don't expect that to hold, but for his career, I mean, everywhere he's been, when he's been really good, it's been 8% or above.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's probably closer to 10 or 11%. And I don't think he's going to strike out that much. He struck out 17%. Maybe he strikes out around 20, not 27. I think he's a way better player than what this projection is showing. Now, the other ones, like if you look at Stever, they have a 248, 327, 421, and a 106.
Yeah.
I think he could potentially even be better than that. Like I've talked about this. I think he's going to win Rookie of the Year. That is going to be my pick. And but I do think the 17 homer, 70 RBI type, I think that is totally fair. Especially if he's probably going to hit in the lower third of the order to begin the year. But if he's killing it, you may see him hitting 5th behind Salvador Perez. And he's going to get that presents more opportunities for him to produce and to drive in more runs, more opportunities of runners in scoring position. And I think he's a really, really good player. And I think this is underselling how good Carter Jensen is a little bit.
I think it is too. And I'm a big believer in Carter Jensen, but I am going to hit the button here. And reason,
Yeah.
I'm going to hit the button because I've just taken the stance of if Jack Caglione and Carter Jensen are league average bats, I mean, they can win the division. I mean, that is such a
I like that take.
giant jump from what they got last year from numerous spots on the field. I mean, if you took that number from Jack Caglione, this number from Carter Jensen, I know he's 3 points below league average there, but you plug that into the DH role. I mean, 17 bombs, driving 70. Cags does what he does in right
he's
field.
catching. He's going to probably get a fair amount of catching opportunities this year too.
I mean, I think about how valuable Freddie Fermin was being around, a 2-WAR player, and that he had a higher average and higher OBP than that. But look, I think Carter Jensen's going to be better than that. But to play it safe, because that's right around league average, I'm hammering that because that's 2 players now you're adding to the production of Bobby, Maikel, Vinny, Salvador, Perez. I mean, you get to a point where your lineup has 6 or even 7, league average bats or above that, you're going to be a playoff team and a dangerous one at that.
Yeah, that's totally fair. We'll go to one of the newcomers here in Isaac Collins. They have him at 229, 328, 365. So obviously not a ton of slug. That's not his game. 94 weighted runs created plus, 1.1 WAR, 9 homers, 50 RBIs, 15 stolen bases, and that is 19 doubles as well. And this is just because I'm hedging against some of the injury concerns that are already popping up with the knee in the back. I'll press the button on that. And I didn't initially think I was going to. And you can only look so much into spring training numbers, but I have been underwhelmed by what I've seen so far. I'm a little, not 5-alarm fire concerned, but I'm about a 3.5 concerned on what I've seen so far. And the fact that we're already seeing he's having to get injections in his knee, his back is bothering him a little bit in some spots. It's something to monitor, I guess is the way to put it.
Only reason I wouldn't press the button here is just because you went out there and he was your, not big fish, but he was the bat you brought in. I mean, you gave up Serpa. We'll see how he does in the pitching lab in Milwaukee. So far, it kind of
he looked pretty damn good in the World Baseball Classic. The folks that said he sucked were quiet.
Yeah. So I would be let down if in the first year that Serpa, because I have the confidence that Serpa's going to be good in Milwaukee. They just seem to do it with everybody. I'd be let down if Collins is the below average bat for the outfit because you got him to be your high floor guy, somebody to come in and just be consistent in the outfield. That to me would be a little bit, too below average for my liking.
That's fair. All right, one last hitter here, and we'll go to Jonathan India, who's, obviously underwhelmed last year. We'll see what he's got this season. Career worst year last year. They have him here 238, 336, 368, a 98 weighted runs created plus, 1.2 WAR. 11 homers, 50 RBIs, and a 10% walk rate, which would be up from a career low last year, or pretty close to a career low last year. I would hit the button on this one as well because I really don't know what to expect from him. I don't know if last year was just an aberration and he's going to get back to the player that he was, a 105, 110 weighted runs created plus type guy. That he has been over the last couple of years in Cincinnati versus last year where he, got hurt a bunch, new spot, new ballpark, all that. Maybe the fence is moving in. He is a beneficiary of that as well. But just because I'm hedging some expectations here, I'll go ahead and take slightly below league average at second base and a high on base at the bottom of the order. I think that's fine.
Oh, I think it'd be a huge difference for this lineup if he does that. I mean, it's not world breaking or anything. It's not game changing, but Jonathan India was well below average last year, offensively and defensively.
That's putting it nicely.
Yeah. I mean, I expect him to be far more consistent defensively this year. I don't think people realize how much the defensive change of putting him at third and left field, and then he had the freak injuries that factored into his defensive abilities. Offensively, if he does that, that's pretty much what he's done his entire career. I'm slamming the button there because you know what you're going to get from Vinny, Bobby, and Maikel. If you get that from Jonathan India, that's one of the better infields in all of baseball offensively.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. All right, let's move on to the pitchers here. We'll try and move a little bit quicker through this. We're already over an hour. Thank you guys for hanging out with us if you've made it this far. We'll go to the starting five. We'll do a couple relievers and then a couple pieces that are going to be on the outside, but I think that are interesting to talk about. We'll start with Cole Reagans, the opening day starter for the third consecutive year. Steamer has him projected to start 29 games, 172 innings, a 3.31 ERA, and about a FIP to match. That would be a 4.1 FWAR. And FWAR is kind of tricky for pitchers. I use Baseball Reference more often, so I probably won't mention WAR after this for the pitching side. 211 strikeouts to 62 walks, and that's 19 home runs given up. Then also, it factors in 17 quality starts projected as well out of 29. I would take this clearly because he was hurt so much of last year. It's pretty on par with his breakout 2024 season where he finished fourth in Cy Young, where he had the 223 strikeouts to 67 walks and ERA at 3.1. If he's a 3.3 pitcher and is able to stay healthy for the vast majority of the season, I think you take it and run.
Oh yeah, I'm with you. Anybody coming off of a significant injury, if they're going to give you near 30 starts and put up that type of production north of 200 strikeouts, that's ace stuff. That's Cole Reagans returning to form. So no arguments on my end. I'm hammering the button as well.
Okay. Seth Lugo, they got him for 28 starts. There are 13 quality starts baked in there of those 28. 161 innings, a 4.49 ERA, FIP slightly below at 4.4, 1.7 FWAR, 138 strikeouts to 53 walks. I'm very conflicted here, I'll be honest.
Oh man. I mean, that's basically what he was last year. Here's my take on it. And when I asked him if he likes, does he feel better the more he throws? And he said that is kind of the case where the more I throw, the better I feel, the better I have command. And at some point, that's not the case though. You're 36, you're going to be 37. I only need 130 innings out of Seth Lugo, to be honest with you, which is why I'm not going to press the button here. If it gets to a point where his ERA is near 4.5, I'm not sure he's in the rotation anymore. I mean, I think that's a point where you say, hey, let's give that slot to Berger. Let's give that slot to Kolek because they're going to give us a better chance in October. And then maybe he slides into the bullpen. But I'm not hitting the button because I don't think that's good enough for a guy that's making that type of money.
I am worried this contract might blow up. Like, I am not, again, kind of like I was with Isaac Collinson. I am not 5-alarm fire concerned. Yeah. But some of the stuff we saw in spring training, like the fastball, it's not quite the same. He's not getting as much swing and miss with the breaking stuff. It seems like kind of the illusion of the 15 pitches is starting to lose its luster. We'll see. Maybe the blister that he had, he dealt with that all last year and the back tightened up and it was just confluence of events led to the everything blowing up literally the second pen to paper went at the trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
If he's able to be somewhere in between what he was last year and a Cy Young year, then I think you're fine. Like if he's a 3.8 full and 145 innings, cool. But I'm not going to press the button here because I don't think it gets to a point where he's a 4.5 ERA guy. I think he is too good for it to blow up that hard. But I also am not going to bank on him being Cy Young 2 again. I think
you can.
But one of the greatest 1 year, kind of blips. And then I think he's back just being a solid mid-rotation starter. But we'll see. I do have in the back of my mind that man, they gave him a lot of money and I hope it works. Because at the time I liked it, but obviously with new information, we're able to kind of change our opinions and see where we're at. All right, Maikel Wacha. We got 29 starts from him. They actually have him projected to have another healthy season, 170 innings, close to what he did last year. At the ERA at 4.5, FIP about to match, 1.9 WAR. I don't know why I'm saying the WAR. I don't care about it. What am I doing? 135 strikeouts to 50 walks, 13 quality starts baked in there. I'm not going to because he hasn't been a 4.5 ERA pitcher in a half decade. Like when he was in Boston, It was the 3-3-2. That 1 year in San Diego, 3-2-2. 3-3-5 in his first year at Kansas City, a 3-8-6 last year, and a lot of that was inflated by the last 2 starts were really tough. But he was as solid as can be as a mid-3s ERA guy. I think he's just going to be that again. I think he's just that kind of model of consistency type. If he gives you 170 innings again, even if he is a little over 4, that's some pretty good value still for the money that they're paying him.
Yeah, I'm not going to press the button here, and I'll kind of say the same thing I did for Seth Lugo. The Royals would be foolish to give somebody with a 4.5 ERA nearly 30 starts. If it's starting to trend in that direction, you've got the depth now to make that switch. And even if you are spending that money, it's like you have better options at that point. So I'm not pressing that button just because I think Maikel Wacha can be consistent in about 140 to 150 innings.
Yeah, I think so. And he's shown, like, he's been able to stay healthy in Kansas City. Like, it's been weird. Like, the IL stint he had in 24 was like a broken foot on a comebacker. So weird situation. And then he got a concussion off the field in late August, early September. So again, kind of like just weird, but nothing that has led to like anything that is pitching related, I guess. Like, not the stereotypical, like the shoulder, the elbow, the wrist, the hamstring barking or where it hasn't been any of that stuff. So maybe he's kind of figured it out at this moment. Chris Bubic, they got him projected for 149 innings. Interesting though, they have him on here for 34 games, but 24 starts. So they're hedging a little bit here, I think. But 149 innings, that would be, they have him for a 3.91 ERA, a little over 2 WAR, 141 strikeouts to 52 walks. I think I'm going to press the button here because I just want to see what a healthy Chris Bubic does. If he gives you 150 innings, you take that and run, because he hasn't done that at any point in his career. Now, some of that was just because he was bad his first couple of years before Brian Sweeney got there. And they gave you 116 innings before his arm blew out last year. So if he gives you 150 at sub 4, I think that's a pretty good spot. And I think he could potentially be better than that. But I'll lock that in just from the longevity he's potentially able to give you.
I'm just very high on Chris Bubic. I'm not going to press the button. I think if all things go well for the Royals in 2026, he's a big reason as to why. I see him being the number 2 starter for this team. He won't start out that way where he's spotted in the rotation, but numbers-wise, man, I see it being a lot better than that number of strikeouts and that ERA. I mean, I could see him having an ERA in the 2s at some point this season and probably for an extended period of time. So I won't press it just because I'm very pro Chris Bubic going into this year.
I think that's a very fair point. All right, Noah Cameron. Let's see here. Hang on. I lost it. So they got him projected for 26 starts at a 4.3 ERA, fit pretty close. Like, it's hard to tell, so I think they just kind of like map it plus or minus a little bit. Yeah. But around 4.3 still there. 122 strikeouts to 50 walks, 12 quality starts. I think this is pretty clear that they're believing there's going to be a regression here. I mean, it was a 2.99 ERA last year, but the FIP was a little over 4. And the expected ERA was a little over 4 as well. So I think if he's your 5 starter and he's a little over 4, I think that's probably fine. Like, I think you take that and run. Second year, little more information out there on him. Maybe he's one of those guys that is able to kind of outplay his projection just with the ability to command 5 pitches, being a little bit of an older rookie. Maybe that, things come back and he's maybe closer to like a 3.7. But just given that he's your 5 starter and there isn't the weight of the world expectation on him right now because theoretically everyone is healthy to begin the season, I think I'd lock in a 4.3 right now for him. And I would love it, but I'd understand it just because of the way some of the underlying numbers ended at the end of last season.
Yeah, if he's going to put up those numbers, then he pretty firmly has to be the number 5 in the rotation, probably the worst numbers of the bunch. I'd much rather see it in the low 4s. I could live with the 4.2s, but you get in that 4.4 to 4.5 range. Now, like we said with Lugo and Wacha, it's not really worth the spot in the rotation because we know the Royals' rotation is their lifeblood. Pitching is what they need to get to the postseason, and Noah Cameron's going to have a pretty solid season. But I would also say if I'm rolling the dice in a lot of these guys, I have to hit the button on somebody. So I'll join you. I'll hit the button for Cameron.
Yeah, I think that's he's the guy that I have the most kind of spread in my mind of like what he could end up being. Because the end of last year, I'm like, this guy's awesome. But the more you kind of dive into the numbers, you're like, I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Ryan Berger. They still have him projected for 28 starts, which I think is interesting. Actually, never mind. I looked at it wrong. They have him projected for 28 games, 8 starts.
Okay.
So I think there's, again, still kind of going back and forth. They have it at a 4.8 ERA, and 80. They only have him for because they have him mostly as a reliever. It's 53 strikeouts in 64 innings. I think they're projecting him to be a reliever right now. I don't agree with that. The Zips projection has him more as along the lines of a starter. 103 innings, 86 strikeouts to 43 walks. I think he's better than that, frankly. Just across the board, to be totally fair.
Yeah, I'm not pressing the button there. I see him taking over a rotation spot at some point. So I am pretty surprised that that's where they have the ERA at. I see it being much, much lower than that, and him being one of those surprise dark horse candidates to really run away with the rotation job at some point in the summer.
Yeah, I agree there. Let's move on to the bullpen here. Matt Strom came over in the trade from Philadelphia. They have him projected for 66 innings at a 3.76 ERA, which is interesting considering last year the FIP and ERA were pretty close together. It's not like we got a major regression candidate. 72 strikeouts to 21 walks. I think when you're just looking at the walks and the walks to strikeouts in the innings, I'd take that any day. I don't like reliever ERA unless it's completely out of control. I don't worry about a ton because one bad outing can ruin your ERA for the entire season. Like if he gets blown up for 4 in April, he's going to be chasing that all year long.
Yeah.
So you have to take it in some context. If he gives you 72 strikeouts in 66 innings, take that and run. That's how I view it.
Yeah, we don't need to get too greedy here with Matt Strom. I mean, we can all acknowledge that relievers, they're not as great as we want them to be forever. Everybody's going to hit a wall at some point. In the first year in Kansas City, this just seems like a no-brainer. A high strikeout guy, good command, back end of the bullpen. Yeah, ERAs, as long as they're not 8 or 9, you can have a really good reliever who's got a 4-something ERA that nobody wants to face. Ideally, you have a low 2 or a guy that has a 1-point-something ERA like a Wade Davis or Greg Holland or Kelvin Herrera. Well, let's not get too greedy. I feel that's pretty fair for Matt Strom.
Okay. Lucas Ursig, they have him for 62 appearances, 63 strikeouts to 23 walks, and ERA they have projected at 3.65. Again, if he gives you a strikeout an inning, I think you take it and run because the strikeouts kind of disappeared for him last year. And it seems like the strikeouts have just kind of like, I don't know. I think it's the fastball shape. Like he throws it hard, but it's not, doesn't have like crazy ride or crazy arm side run. It's just kind of there. If he's able to get back to a strikeout an inning, then I think you take that and you go and run with that at the back end of a bullpen.
Yeah, I think that'd be kind of closer to what he was in 2024. I mean, if he can have the good command with that type of power, that velocity, and a strikeout per or I guess it'd be 9 strikeouts per 9. Strikeout per inning. That seems very good for Lucas Ursig. And to have those two guys setting it up for Estevez, I'm okay with those projections. That feels very serviceable for the spots they're going to have in the bullpen.
Yeah, and I like this one for Nick Mears as well. They had the ERA at 4.13. The FIP was a little bit higher than the ERA last year, 3.49 to 3.86. But to me, I don't think there's major regression due here. They have it at 4.13 in projected 60 appearances. 60. They have him for about a strikeout an inning with 23 walks. I think he could potentially be better than that. But if he's a mid-rotation guy or a mid, like he's handling the 6th or 5th, 6th, 7th innings like Schreiber, those two are kind of gonna handle a lot of those. I think you take that and you run as well.
Yeah, I'm taking that. I really only care about the strikeout numbers with Nick Mears. He was somebody for the Brewers in 2024 that had a really high ERA, but was explosive when it came to strikeouts. I mean, the stuff was powerful. The swing and miss was good. That's when the Brewers pitching lab really did something with him. Last year, strikeout numbers came down, but the ERA was better. When you're throwing in the 6th inning, I need you to be that swing and miss guy. You come in when it's 2nd and 3rd, 2 outs. I need you to get the punch out. That's what I'm focusing on with him. So I'll punch the button there.
Okay. Last one here, Carlos Estevez, the closer for this team, at least to begin the season. For 65 appearances, 31 saves projected out of those appearances, 61 strikeouts to 24 walks, so a little bit less than a strikeout an inning, and a projected 4.4 ERA. That'd be bad. That would not be a closer if the ERA got up because I know I just said I don't care about reliever ERA in context, but when you're talking about a closer and he's giving up runs and he's got a 4.5 ERA, that's not great because he's coming in a lot of 1-run games. That means he's giving up 3+. That's not great. I have kind of floated the idea that I don't think he's going to be closing games by midseason. I think he's still going to be in the bullpen, but I don't know if he's going to be able to retain the closer's role. He kind of played with fire a lot of last season. I'm not going to press the button here because I don't think he's going to be a 4.4, and I don't think the Royals will let it get to that point. I want to see what the velocity is like because I know he's a slow build-up guy, but if it's 93 on opening day, I'm going to be like, oh, God.
Well, I know he's supposed to be throwing tonight, so we'll see what it's at. It was not good in the World Baseball Classic either. It was about 91, 92. You just simply can't start somebody or put somebody in the closer's role that's throwing 91 to 92, even if they had 40-plus saves last year.
Unless you're Sergio Romo throwing nothing but sliders, you can't.
Yeah. If he, on opening day, hopefully the Royals have a lead in the 9th inning, is back up 95, 96, I'm okay with him having the closer's role moving forward. But if it's all a bunch of changeups and sliders again, they're not as devastating as a pitch for that to work for a long time. So I'm not punching the button here just because that wouldn't happen. They wouldn't have him putting up those numbers and say, we're fine with that. Eventually somebody's taken over that closer spot if those are the numbers he's putting up.
Yep, I agree. Well, it was fun. We're running out of time here. We're an hour and 20 minutes. I don't think I've ever done a podcast this long here. This has been awesome, Jack. Before we get out of here, Spring Breakout is on Friday. So and this game is available to watch on Royals.tv, and it will be free to watch as well because it's still part of spring training. This is the top prospect game. So there are no big leaguers here. This is they've done this the last couple of years. I think it's awesome. It's a great showcase for a lot of these guys. The Royals have all of their top prospects in this. Who are some guys you have your eye on that you want to see the most in this event?
Yeah, I'd say probably a combination of guys like, Blake Mitchell, of course. I just want him to get some confidence going into the year. He didn't have that last year. He broke the hamate bone and he was sidelined for a couple of months. Daniel Vasquez as well is somebody that hasn't had the best of springs, but upsides there. I really like what he had.
He's also been a big league camp probably a lot longer than he would have been, given that a lot of his middle infield compadres were in WBC.
Yeah, and then I also believe Gamble and Hammond are both on the roster as well. So you've got two guys that you drafted last year. I can't wait to see them on my TV in action. And then lastly, I'd say Carson Rocafort as well. This is somebody that, if all the cards fall in his favor, everything falls right for him, he could get a chance in September, depending on where the Royals are at. The glove plays, and he's got a very mature approach. He just needs to have that bat maybe become a little bit more powerful, have more pop in that bat, and then I really like what he'd be able to do for the Royals in center field down the road.
First and foremost for me, it's Kendrick Churio. I want to see him pitch. I want to see him start this game. He's incredible, and he's 18 years old. I know there's no such thing as a pitching prospect, and am I putting a lot of hope into an 18-year-old pitcher that hasn't pitched above high A? Yes, I am, because he's awesome. I'm excited for him. Dennis Collarin, I was intrigued by him when they drafted him. He's thrown triple digits in big league camp. He's a guy that I think is going to end up in Double A to start the year, and sneaky name to watch by August if all goes right and he's able to command the fastball. I'm intrigued by Blake Mitchell. He hit a 440-foot homer the other day. So maybe the handmaid's better. If the power comes back, then I think my opinion of Blake Mitchell will change. But I also just wonder if he strikes out too much to where the power doesn't matter. And so that's something I'm really going to have to watch this year. Obviously, Hammond and Gamble, just to see what they look like in action. We've seen some clips of them when they were in Instructs at the end of last year. Really intrigued by Gamble. Seems super toolsy. And then Hammond has some crazy right-handed power. So I'm in agreement on a lot of those guys. Yando Ricardo still has some intrigue for me, but I think we're almost getting to and I think that's the problem with a lot of these Dominican Summer League guys and the guys that signed at 16, that you kind of get the hype, like the hype, and then the hype kind of dies the second that they get to the major leagues, and then they become post-hype and they're 19 years old. Like, we're almost getting to post-hype with Yando Ricardo, but, we'll see what he has. I think, again, that kid is super tooled up as well, and a guy with a lot of intrigue there. And so I'll probably be live tweeting that game. That game is Friday, 3:00 Central, so get a second screen. I know everyone's going to be quad boxing March Madness. I will be too. But dedicate a screen to go watch some of these minor league guys as that game happens. It's a lot of fun to watch. I've enjoyed it the last couple of years. That is going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Again, like, rate, subscribe, review on all platforms. Hit those notification bells. Go follow Jack on Twitter. What's your handle so people can follow you if they're, for some reason, aren't? I don't know why you wouldn't be.
At JohnnyJ_15. So it's just at JOHNYJ. Then there's an underscore there. Then just the numbers 1 and 5.
And then be sure to go subscribe to Locked On Royals as well. Every day, Monday through Friday at least, there is a show going up that Jack does. So on days when you don't have this show, go listen to Jack as well, or listen to us in concert. I don't care. But follow Jack as well for all Royal stuff. He is one of the best going in this. And I, want to make sure we got that support as well. And we will talk next week. We'll have a few episodes up heading into opening day. I'm excited for what we have coming next week. We'll announce it all here in the coming days. Talk soon, everybody.